The Prime Minister Manmohan Singh will be holding what may be his last press conference of his term. It's scheduled for the 3rd of January, this Friday. It's ostensibly going to focus on what the UPA government says are its achievements during its term, the Food Security Act, the Land Acquisition Bill, and also the Lokpal Bill that was passed by Parliament most recently. We're hearing that the Prime Minister will also be fielding questions, not an everyday occurrence. I want to bring Javed Ansari in on this. Javed, the last time the Prime Minister did this was probably a couple of years ago when he sat down with editors of various media houses and took questions. Would the mood in this particular press conference be as pointed as it was last time, or do we see this as more a lame duck session for this Prime Minister?
Considering that this will perhaps be his last press conference of this kind before he demits office in the summer of 2014, and considering that it comes only a few months ahead of the general elections, there will be a lot of questions that will be aimed at the Prime Minister, especially political ones. One, considering his future. Two, about Rahul Gandhi. Third, about Modi, the prospects, and mostly political in nature. And a lot on the Prime Minister's track record. The main reason why the Prime Minister has called this press conference is because he perhaps wants to, try and, even at this late stage, recover some lost ground, try and impress upon the people the kind of underline the work that his government has done, try and underscore some of the achievements of the UPA government in the 10 years that he's been Prime Minister.
And you mentioned some of the achievements that the UPA touts as successes for the government. However, one of the biggest failures of the UPA has perhaps been the number of corruption scandals that emerged, particularly in its second term in office, starting from 2009. That's something the Prime Minister has often, or rather a lot of people point fingers at the Prime Minister directly for failing to clamp down on his cabinet and his junior ministers and tackling corruption by himself.
That is something that is going to mar the Prime Minister's legacy, because he is without doubt, and even his opponents at this late stage concede that nobody believes that he's personally corrupt. The charge that is laid at his door is that the Prime Minister was not decisive enough. He's not been decisive enough in preventing other people in his government from indulging in corruption. And perhaps they point to 2G, to CWG, to coal allocations. So the Prime Minister's track record that way has been blighted, but nobody personally accuses the Prime Minister of being personally corrupt.
One final question, because we were talking earlier about Rahul Gandhi perhaps being projected as the Prime Minister nominee for the UPA, certainly the Congress party at least. In many ways, the Prime Minister has often said that he himself would have no problem serving with Rahul Gandhi as his Prime Minister. As you said, time now for that Congress Vice President to step up and take charge, something he's more or less shied away from, at least publicly.
Yeah, step up and take charge doesn't mean that he will step up and become the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
I'd be very, very surprised that if at this late stage there's a change of guard. It makes no sense. They're just a couple of months left. We'll have elections in April. The code of conduct will come into play in March. So what you're basically looking at is January, February, and the mid of March. So for 2.5 months, a new Prime Minister makes no sense. Mr. Manmohan Singh will see through his term, and he will be the second person, perhaps after Jawaharlal Nehru, to be and the first non-Nehru to complete 10 years of continued Prime Ministership. That, in a way, is an achievement of itself. Yes, his track record, history will judge him on that.
It's been 10 tumultuous years for Manmohan Singh at the helm, or will be 10 tumultuous years by the time his term ends next year. Javed Ansari, many thanks for getting us those political perspectives.